Dr. Thomas of Turning Point talked about the various drugs that are wrecking and wreaking havoc, rather, in our communities and schools, and including nicotine, vaping, marijuana, synthetic marijuana, hallucinogens such as Molly, ecstasy, mushrooms, cocaine, crack, and the new narcotic on the market, which has replaced fentanyl. Substance use patterns are consistently changing for the appearance of the drug, the symptoms, and what we can recognize. So as parents, it's important to pay attention to the behavioral changes in our children. The use of pills and opioids represents behavioral differences from the popular marijuana. Marijuana sources cannot always be trusted, as we have experienced many cases of being laced, or the marijuana being laced with other substances, says Dr. Thomas. As such, they are launching, together with the Ministry of Justice, a campaign to be able to bring awareness to our public about the various types of drugs that are within our communities, the effects that it is having on our youth and the population, and the symptoms that parents indeed should look out for. Simple things such as searching school bags or rooms, having conversations with your children. It has also come to my attention that some schools are not supportive of this information being shared with students in schools, and we are trying our best to be able to have discussions with these school boards, etc., to have this change. Inspector Felix focused on areas such as the parental role. The cornerstone of our efforts lies in the return of the traditional parenting values and guidances, commencing within the home itself. He spoke about schools. We advocate for a more innovative and comprehensive educational approach, one that nurtures creativity and fosters holistic development. He spoke about government. It is imperative that our government crafts sustainable initiatives that bolster not only the social fabric, but also empowers families to build stable and nurturing environments. He spoke about the roles of the churches. Our spiritual institutions have a vital role to play in uniting and fortifying our communities, serving as pillars of support and solidarity. Finally, he spoke about the role of law enforcement or the police, where they seek to go beyond the mere enforcement of laws, but also to transform into mentors, big brothers, and coaches to our youth.
Can you give us an idea, if you have any knowledge, of the percentage of students abusing drugs or substance?
I won't be able to give you the actual numbers and statistics. Definitely, I know Dr. Thomas from Turning Point has those, but the concern is quite large. There's even concern that a lot of our students are seeing to it that they engage in substance abuse prior to going into school. Many of them are not able to focus as they need to. There is concerns about the level of aggression that they are displaying has contribution from that as well. There is campaigns being launched on our radios. There's going to be campaigns on our social media pages. You can look out for those. There's going to be more activities from Turning Point coming out to be able to discuss these, because as I mentioned before, for some odd reason, and I use the word odd because I still can't understand, there is some resistance from schools to allow Turning Point to come in and administer these awareness platforms. That for me is alarming. So in my discussions with Turning Point, I said, no problem. If we can't go into schools, then we make it a very public platform of awareness. So that's what we're driving to do. We have, as I mentioned in my opening statements, a lot of different types of substances. Of course, alcohol is a part of that as well, because we have a lot of youth that engage in that. But in terms of the actual statistics, that is something we will have to publish within short.
Because I've been having too much lately, by talking, without it being something very bad and difficult, I suddenly can find myself crying, tears coming out of my eyes. Without me realizing it, it just happens. And indeed, by it happening, it starts pulling me down and makes me even more sad than I was even before. And so that's something. I always would be a jealous guy, doing everything, going everywhere, enjoying everything. And suddenly this moment, sometimes suddenly it changes, and it becomes something I don't know where it's coming from. So that's why the specialists here are those to help us understand ourselves better. And it happens. Let me, for example, last week or 2 weeks ago, I found myself walking in the evening. I love. Might have to do with me living alone for many years. I was married, divorced, child, the second wife. Certain moment you get fed up with me, so. And then I accept because indeed, I can sometimes act very strange with regards to the woman that started as a woman in my life. Although I'm not the type my father had, because he had a lot of children outside. Don't go that far.
Okay. So what he is sharing is the mood swings that have to do with certain memories that come up. You see number 8 on your list, changes in mood and behavior. He remembers these kind of things as issues that he has lately. So he shares things that he is experiencing. And for us that surround him, how we go about it. So we don't have to push it away, tell them stop with it, but you have to show empathy. You have to show understanding so that he can work it out, you do it together, and then, okay, we can change the subject.
Because it's an active, dynamic situation that every day or every moment you can go into a different new symptom or problem that can be addressed, and then when we need all to work all together, right? From the medical and non-medical, psychological, friends, family, from all the different people that we can involve. Maybe Francesca can tell us how it's that we can also help in doing the diagnosis from the psychological point of view.
Just to address your how and why question, it's basically, it could be many factors. It's always person to person. You could have had the thought of, okay, it's this time, usually at this time I go play dominoes with my police friends. And you're on your way, but you're on the way, you forget that thought, that you lose that train of thought, so there's that confusion. What am I doing here? It's very hard to say until, as Dr. Mark has mentioned, we do that medical interview, we understand through your caretakers, your friends, family, and all that assessment where we find out, okay, you were in this situation because that was your routine, but now you're having some fragments of that routine missing because of your condition. So I don't know if that answers your question, like why do I feel that way or why do I experience that?
Mealtime rules. Don't serve yourself first. Do not eat with your mouth open. Don't rest your elbows on the table. Don't make noise when eating. Does not apply when enjoying KFC buckets. When we bucket together, we are as we really are.
Social and health insurances. Your social and health insurances.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? Asset V is cardless. Request your My Asset V account today and enter the virtual office of Asset V. Go to assetv.sx and sign up now.
Your social health insurances.
During the hurricane season, a potential tropical cyclone can produce rainfall that can cause flash flooding and rockfalls. Stay away from flood-prone areas during heavy rainfall, such as Jump Up Casino on Emil Plain Road in Phillipsburg, ATLH Road Roundabout, L.B. Scott Road from Emilio Wilson Park until Cake House Supermarket, Zaker's Gut from Petro Plus Gas Station until the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Welcalaken Road K Hill from Welcalaken Road Roundabout until the One-Tete Loke Roundabout, Beacon Hill Road from Sunset Bar and Grill until the beginning of White Sands Road, and Rhine Road, also known as Mullet Bay Road, after Sonesto Maho Beach Hotel to the entrance of Cooper Coy from the intersection of the University Drive until the intersection of Rio Grande. For more information on how you can keep yourself and your family safe this hurricane season, visit stmartingolf.org/hurricane. This public service announcement is brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
But I need the government to understand that the heavy traffic jams, like the governor said, are not because of the roads. That's not the issue there. The issue is we have too many cars on the road. But that is not being addressed. And the question is, why is it not being addressed? That, government, you need to answer. That's where we need to start looking. We cannot continue building roads. We don't have no more land to build roads. You can't build a parallel road to LB Scott anymore because you allowed people to build. So you do knock down their houses now to build? After you gave them permission to build? You understand? There comes a time that we have to look for the solutions that are not in front of us, but maybe even behind us. We have to turn around and go and fix that problem so that the future is livable. Are we going to start building roads on top of roads? Because there was a design once for that, that you can build a road on top of the Bush Road, on top of the road here, Walter Nisbet Road, on top of L.V. Scott Road. One going in is one way, one coming out is one way. You can do anything, but we don't have the money for it. And our infrastructure just simply don't lend itself. It doesn't. It just simply doesn't. So we have to start looking at how we going to fix that. And I missed that. I even missed the public transportation. Instead of the Minister of TIAT giving out taxi and bus licenses, go and pick up the project of changing lanes, man, and do something with it. Regulate the public transportation with districting. Not about who got a license and who ain't got a license. No. Who gonna drive to Point Blanche? Who gonna drive to Sucker Garden? Who gonna drive to Mid-Region? Who gonna drive into Cape Bay? Because these are locations that buses don't drive. Because they're not the best paying routes. It is, for example, going to the hospital. Do you see any buses driving? No. You see Accessible Ventures doing it to help the people that are going to the hospital or coming from the hospital from Carrefour parking lot. They do that because we don't regulate it in our system. The bus terminal. These are the bus stops along the road. These are the things that we need to regulate, because when you have a good public transportation system, you will have less cars on the road. You will have. It's that simple. But we don't do that. We want to go build more roads. So we go initiate the road fund to build roads. That is ludicrousy. That is utter nonsense. Fix what you have before you go invest in something that you know will not be the solution at the end of the day. But like you said, Madam Prime Minister, in Jesus' name you rebunk that St. Martin is not a real place. But the way you and your government behave, St. Martin definitely is not a real place. Because you all behave like fools. and put programs and have the governor sit down there and talk about it that you know are not true.
In regards to the Prince Bernard Bridge, the metal plates were installed a few days ago. These plates are part of the flooring on the pedestrian walkway to cross the bridge. The bridge will be completed shortly, and we can look forward to persons being able to finally use the walkway again. We are proud of the work that was being carried out internally, and which, as I mentioned over and over again, this helped us cut on costs significantly.
Mr. For some strange reason, the road markings have come to a halt. We notice that the French side is continuing with this. St. Peter's Road is still in a deplorable condition, certain places of the road, of course. What's your plan for this?
Money is a major issue. Finances is a main challenge that we have. As I mentioned here on various occasions, the budget that I have on a yearly basis is 2.1 million guilders, which can barely scratch the surface when it comes to the attention that our road network requires. I was really banking and still banking and awaiting the capital expenditures approval, because in that we had 8.6 million guilders approximately in total when it comes to main roads and side roads, which are 3.6 was going towards hard surfacing of side roads with concrete, and 5 million extra on top of the 2.1 million. So that would have definitely made, and I'm going to say will definitely make an impact once it's finalized. I spoke to the Minister of Finance last week, and CapEx is awaiting final approval, if I'm not mistaken, still by the second chamber, in order for us to receive those funds. It was approved by CFT, it was approved by the Kingdom Council of Ministers, and the last checkpoint is being awaited on so that we can move forward with that. So to tie it all together, the road painting and all of that will be included in that. However, 2 weeks ago, we received the products, a better sort of paint then, so to speak, for the road painting. We're starting with the roundabouts and the zebra pattern in all the areas. So those are the main focus right now. And then subsequent to that, once we receive the funds, we'll continue on a larger scale.
Just as a follow-up, Minister, how much of the road tax payment is reinjected into the road projects?
As I mentioned, the budget on a yearly basis is approximately 2.1 million guilders. So that is the amount that's received for repairing of roads. I think, of course, I know you're always paying attention to what's going on in the media. Last week when they had the opening of Parliament, I'm not sure if you noticed, one of the points that was mentioned was the road fund. So that will definitely be a great help. That was something that had been finalized years ago. And I took it up a couple of months ago, and we're in discussions now to finalize and get that going. And that will definitely be a more sustainable vehicle, so to speak, to have our road network maintained on a regular basis, and also have the more funding to do such.
You shed light on the debt owed to one of the resorts for the Pretty Boy project. Can you tell us which minister exactly committed government to these expenses? And was there a bidding process for this?
The $15 implementation fee was handled by the Ministry of TIAT. At that time, I was a member of Parliament. But however, I did come into the ministry after and during COVID-19. The insurance company happened to be a company out of Aruba, apparently. To answer your both questions, this was under Minister Ludmila De Wever. At that time, she organized the procedure and dealt with the companies. At the time, of course, it was something I felt that I remember asking, why isn't the local insurance companies involved? But she had her reasons, so she can be able to explain her reasons better. I won't try to explain for her, but however, it was through a company in Aruba. And when it pertains to the Pretty Boy situation or the Pretty Boy saga, you asked who signed off. It was Minister Ludmila De Wever. I am not able to know what was her motivation at the time, as I was not in government at the time. I was a member of parliament. So again, she would have to explain. But yes, indeed, I have heard that there is still an outstanding, but that you would have to verify with Minister Leo Lambrix.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurances.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
With you, the new Kentaco. A combination that will surprise the most curious palates. Combining the deliciousness of KFC chicken and the practicality of a taco. With a doubly delicious ergonomic shape. Wow! Compatible with all types of bites. New Kentaco. Enjoy a double-breaded chicken breast with our secret recipe. Cheese, lettuce, and tomato. New Kentaco, the innovation that's in everyone's mouth.
It's hurricane season. Are you prepared? Here are a few tips to keep in mind to help keep you and your family safe. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th, with the peak occurring between mid-August and late October. This hurricane season, be sure to put together a go bag. A disaster supply kit including a flashlight, batteries, cash, first aid and supplies, medications, and copies of your critical information if you need to evacuate. This public service announcement was brought to you by the government of St. Martin.
Living in peace under the laws of justice. That is my message today. Working together under the laws of justice is and will remain the only path to a safe and prosperous world. That is why Russia's aggression must be stopped. And right now, Russia stands on the wrong side of history. It is hard not to think of historical analogies where one powerful country with expansionist ambitions invades other countries under the false pretense of victimhood and security. Let me be very clear. Russia is not the victim here. It is the aggressor. And the whole world knows it. No one was invading Russia. No one was threatening the Russian people. The people of Ukraine wanted only to be left in peace, to decide their own future. Again, there's only one aggressor here, and that is Russia. For too long, we assumed that it was pure rhetoric when Mr. Putin said that the end of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe. In hindsight, we all should have paid heed to his words, because they reflect a dangerous worldview. He won't stop at Ukraine if we don't stop him now. This war is bigger than Ukraine itself. It's about upholding the international rule of law. It is about a sovereign people's right to choose its own path. It's about freedom, theirs and ours. So this war is about our common future. And there's only one path for us to follow, one right choice to make. We must uphold the fundamental principles of the UN Charter.
I have assumed my new responsibilities when the complexities of the multiple and interlocking challenges facing humanity that require from us a renewed commitment to the democratic principle and multilateralism. It is clear to me that the tectonic plates of geopolitics and global stability are shifting beneath us. What are those tectonic shifts? It is now certain that knowledge that a pathogen can emerge with lethal power, that it threatens the very survival of mankind. The coincidence in timing of a global pandemic and a war with growing calamity of the climate crisis has exposed the fragility, vulnerability, and instability of the global supply chains of food, staples, and other essentials. Power shifts are taking place in international relations as the influence of some countries rises and others wanes. With this has come an insistence for reform to the United Nations to make it more relevant and reflective of the composition of today's world and current power structures, including reform of the anachronistic Security Council. The effect and widespread nature of technology is creating change faster than most can manage. Faith in multilateral systems is being eroded, and its capacity to do global good is being jeopardized by the rising crass, unbridled nationalism, which has shown the powerful to be nonchalant to the suffering of anyone other than their own population.